Yo, what is good, guys? This is your man Silver Smash here, and we are back again, once again, with another series that I am about to start today. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for this series for a very, very long time, so I am going to give you the TLDR on why this was the case. So, if you haven't noticed, I've been MIA on Discord for a hefty amount of time. I'm on, but I'm not on as much as I would want to. And when I am on, I am very secluded online. So I'm not really interested in being inside the Pokemon community as of now. So I may pop in every once in a while, say what's up, or tell you guys what's going on in my life or whatever. So my mom passed last year in August, so that's part of the reason why I'm also not as invested online because I'm trying to adjust my life around my mother not being in my life. So that's a lot going on as well. So it is what it is. Like I've gotten a lot better compared to the initial moment I found out her passing. So that's awesome for me. And fast forward a couple of months, and I am moving out of this house that I'm currently in. So tomorrow I'm gonna be very busy, but I'm recording this on my free time, pretty much. So yeah, we chilling now. So tomorrow we will be moving the rest of the stuff that are lingering inside of the house. We repainted the house. We cleaned up every single thing that's been here for pretty much 19 years. We've been in this house for 19 years. We if you have not figured that out yet, because I haven't told anybody. But yeah, that's the update. And my hours are crazy at work, especially during the holidays. And Valentine's Day is coming up, so you already know it's about to be hefty and busy. So yeah, with that being said, I am not alone. I have a guest with me. And with that being said, y'all, I'm going to introduce my good man, Blin, my man, the one and only. Say what's up.
Eddie, man.
All right.
What's good at you?
Alright, yo. So, we have a couple of little things that we're going to talk about on the TBH, which is, to be honest, but we're going to just say TBH because it's faster, easier, and more convenient. So, we were supposed to do a podcast today, but I decided, you know what? Justin's not on, Kurt's flaking, and you know what? What better person than to be with Blin? And we have some pretty good topics to talk about. We have three things that we're going to talk about, which we can talk about for a decent amount of time, not too long, but fairly long to keep your interest. So, the initial topic that we will touch on right now is the current draft league community and your experience pretty much from 2020 to now. So, I'm not going to talk. I've been talking long enough. So, we're going to let Blin touch on that real quick. Blin, what you got to say?
the the community, like, it's hard to say because back sort of I've been playing Mons now for almost 4 years. I'm an old man by this community sense. And 2017, 18, first half of 19 when I joined, it was there was a genuine community around there. And I don't know what feels like has happened the last couple of years is you look at the guys that were competitive Mons became really big sort of around that 2017, maybe a bit into 2016 era. And so you look at the guys that are were playing back then and sort of the cornerstones of the community, the ones that started up the big draft leagues. You had in the early days, you had GBA, then you had a whole bunch of other leagues that branched off that, and that was how the community started. If you look at now, it's 4 or 5 years on, those guys that were sort of in their late teens, early 20s, and now 25, 26, and looking to get on with their life. So they're just naturally not in the community as much. And it just feels like there's been really no generation to step up and take their place as sort of be those real top tier battlers that want to come through and just claim names. So it's just, yeah, it just makes for an interesting community to say the least. What do you reckon on that?
Okay, so I'm going to touch on that a lot because that's really the reason why I'm not really as invested in the community anymore. So, if you guys haven't noticed by now, I am very much retired as of now still. Like, yes, I signed up for GPL, but I'm talking prior to that, and plus that's a for fun thing. It's not something that I'm gonna sweat. I don't really need to sweat per se, but anyways, I'm getting off topic. So Blin has mentioned that a lot of the draft league community is like a bunch of youngins who are pretty much stepping their foot into the pool, as I like to say. So players like Blin and myself, we've been in this community for years upon years upon years. We're pretty much old enough to say that, hey, we've been here since the beginning of the franchise. So we've been investing in this thing for a long time. And then the draft community started about 2016, 2015, I think. But it really popped off 2016, if I recall correctly, which was the tail end of ORAS. So back then it was amazingly fun. Like you had a bunch of newer players joining in and playing because they've seen a lot of these really strong competitors playing and recording their matches and stuff and giving these analyses and good insight on the community, which allowed for people to grow and elevate their craft, but not to the same level as their competitors, such as the ones who are providing the content. So anyways, from my experience, I would say 2020 was a mixed year, but I would say it wasn't that good of a year overall because, like, I don't want to put things on blast, but, like, there was a lot of things that went on in this particular league that I don't want to say the name of because it's best to keep it anonymous. So, like, there's a lot of inside drama that went on. It's just, it went on consistently. Like, if it wasn't one thing, it was the next thing. Like, it was just a bunch of he say, she say kind of thing. And it will just get back to the other party, and then that party would react to that. And then it'll leak to us, or it'll be leaked to them. And it's just like, we're just playing Pokemon. Like, why is it such a big deal about how someone feels or what they think and, you know, their circle of friends that they have? Because you have your circle of friends, I have my circle of friends. Why does it matter who I choose to, you know, consult and have conversations with, just chill with? Because I don't harass you for the selective people that you decide to hang around. So it's like, it's just such an annoying thing. It's like we're in high school in the community, if that makes sense. It's like a whole bunch of gossip, a whole bunch of drama. Yeah. It's just like, why? Like, it makes no sense.
I think you hit it on the head. I think adding to that, the thing that's created a bit of drama and just sort of started it was, as we both said, like, the community's getting older and a lot more of the big names of draft are retiring, are stepping back from running their leagues, are doing what you're doing and just playing casually every now and again. And so you have this shift of people who ran big leagues. Like back in the day, you look at, I don't remember who created GBA. You got the likes of like the guys who created APA, like the big names. They were created just as a hey, we need a place for everyone to be able to play. And now it's the people who are sort of coming, like taking over big leagues or creating a big league themselves. They're sort of looking to create it with a sense of I'm a dictator, or as like, it's not just establishing, hey, look, this is a place for friends, like don't kill each other, but yeah, no, we're all cool. So it's like a lot of my way or the highway kind of vibes.
You know, that's literally it, too. And to touch on that, it's a lot of, like, people who are in these roles now because of said people retiring, and now that they're stepping up and being in the forefront. So it's like, they feel a self-entitlement, and it gets to their head. And not only that, now that they're on the come up, so they think, it's just like, it's a big thing because now it's not the heart of the community like the way it used to. Like the older players, I was about to say people, the older players, like we enjoyed the community. Like we didn't care about clout, we didn't care about being recognized, we didn't care about necessarily being the best and continuously like trash talking or like putting other people down for not being as good as you think they are, or making the right plays that you think they should have made, are you getting hacked and you're just making a big deal out of it. It's just like, we're just here to have fun. Yes, it's okay to be upset, or it's okay to like have your bad days, but let's like realize that this is a community and we're all in the same community, but different parts of it. But at the end of the day, we're doing the same thing, and we should be able to respect one another without like butting heads with each other. So that's my take on that. But lately, it's like, now that the generation is not like the generation didn't really bring much. So now everything is still, and when people are bored, they will find anything to entertain them. And even if that includes like drama or tension, it will happen. So it's like, it's tough. It's a touch thing. Like, it's a very sensitive topic. And
I think as well, like, the
yeah.
whole, like, politically correct movement, which is happening, like, off Discord as well. It's, like, getting out of hand in some cases. Has crept into Discord. It was like the old days, it was, you're in a big server, it's like, right, we got people to keep the calm, and, like, that's just in case someone comes on and, like, spam pings everyone, or, like, just is toxic. But now it's like, oh, you say a bad word and you're booted. And it's like the fact that they're going in such a, you do one wrong thing and you're out of here, gives the people that have the ability to kick people, it just gives them such a sense of superiority, like, whether they want to or not. It's like, oh, I have all power, you've done something wrong, get out of here. Like, I don't like you because you've done this, get out of here. And so it's just, Mons has gone away from being a chill place where, like, some friends play Mons to, like, being this sense of politics. And, like, I can guarantee you, if you went back sort of to mid 2016 when, like, draft leagues were first starting, and they mainly started in that, like, YouTube league sense, but then it crept into, like, Discord and people just playing on Showdown for fun. If you went back to the guys who were, like, in that community and said, hey, in 4 years, Mons is going to be, like, super political, and you've got to like people, and you have to get yourself known out there and promote yourself, they would have turned around and laughed at you and went, guys, we're playing a kids game. Like, what's going on here? And so it's just like, hang on, when did this get out of hand? Is just what I look at. And I think 2020, with just the fact that everyone is inside more, which means that they don't have the almost forced escape of, hey, I've got to go to work for 8 hours and I can't check Discord. It's like, so you have to cool off. You're not gonna, people, unless if it's something minor, people don't hold a grudge for 8 hours and then get home and yell at someone across the internet about it. But because we're all stuck inside, and everyone, I reckon if you looked at some statistics on activity across major servers, it would have gone through the roof in 2020 because everyone's at home and on Discord. And so it's just like, things just bubble and explode. And I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where it goes from here now that the world is getting back to normal. We'll see if Discord follows suit and leagues and, like, the community heads sort of back into a common sense direction.
Yep. I think that's also...
So, yeah, what do you reckon, Silver?
Yeah, I feel like I actually forgot about that. Now that you mentioned that, like, March, like, late into March was when quarantine started for a majority of the world, honestly. And it's proven by statistics that Discord's activity has been rising up consistently, like, at a substantial amount. So it's like, everybody's home, everyone's online, and when you're bored, you have nothing to do, that's all you're doing. It's like, you have to find something to keep you occupied, whether that be joining more leagues or causing more beef, or there's more tension because everybody's online. And because, let's say something does happen and tension arises, like you get hacked or someone says something behind your back and you find out, etc. It's like, now you have ample time to, like, cause all of this ruckus, and it's like, it's not necessary. Like, I would usually say, I always said this, I'm like, just click off of Discord, go outside, listen to music, do something productive off of the internet, off of your, like, devices. But you can't even do that because you can't even go outside. for the most part. So it's like you're just home, you're pissed, you're angry, you're upset. So you're just taking it out on everyone, and it's just like, yeah, it's just a bad thing. So with that being said, we're gonna jump onto the next topic, and we're gonna talk about the current situation of Generation 8 and why is it so stale at the moment. Because as you have now noticed, if you're in the community, it's like a whole bunch of people are retiring, and a lot of these retirements are from the older players, and ironically it was during this generation. So I'm not going to continuously talk. I want to let my man Blin speak on this first, so I want to hear what you got to say. Yeah.
Alright, well, I think you touched on it, is that, like, some of the retirement people are winding out. It's just coincidence. It's like they got older, they've got, like, real life responsibilities. Like, when you're moving on with your life and raising kids and doing all that, not everyone's going to be clicking on Discord to fight some dude in Asia or in a Pokemon kids game. Like, let's be real. But I think the one main thing you've got to look at is every generation introduces a major mechanic. In Gen 6, you had. Was it Gen 6 that had Megas? Or was that Gen 5? I can't remember. Yeah, so Gen 6, you had your Mega Evolutions. Gen 7, you had your Z moves. And now this Gen Dynamax is the big thing. And looking back at Leaves, like, there wasn't really a league before Gen 6. Like, you didn't have any Gen 5 draft leagues, because looking at that format, that would have been broken. But Megas were a huge part of that league. Looking at just a round 1 draft, like, almost half the picks would have been Megas. Gen 7 Z moves and, like, working tiers and prepping around, like, what Z users your opponent has and, like, moves, and it just... that was a big impact. And then getting to Gen 8, Dynamax is too broken to allow. So the big new mechanic and the big new change that they had, we can't use. So it's like, hang on, it's Gen 7 with less mons and, like, no Z moves. Yeah, there are a few new mons, but in typical fashion, Nintendo gears all their new stuff to being good in VGC and doubles, because that's their official format. So you looking at some mons, like, I can't think off the top of my head. Let's go to, like, let me just pull up Gen 8 Pokedex, get some examples of this. You look at some of the new mons here. Let's take Galar Dam for an example. Like, especially in early days, that was a super strong mon in, like, the beginning of Gen 8, and it was almost overbearing when we didn't have Nat decks, we didn't have all the DLC, but you put that in VGC and it's super strong, but it's not unbeatable by any means. You look at mons that we got in, say, a mon like Surfetched. That mon in singles draft is it's a fun mon, and I love using it, and I have used it to some success. It hits like a truck, but it's just slow and a bit frail. You put that mon in a VGC team, you're allowed to Dynamax, you're allowed to, like, get speed boosts, you can follow me to get attacks away from it. That thing becomes a monster. So it's like, a lot of the new mons they gave us are good, just not in our format. So it's like, Grimstyle, there's another one. Like, it's a half-decent Dark and Fairy type. But in VGC, that thing is a monster, because it's pranks to screens, all this sort of stuff. So I think that's just mainly where draft has fallen behind in Gen 8.
Man, okay. So you literally said almost everything I was going to say. Like, the main reason this generation is so stale is because, as you haven't noticed, that Game Freak loves to give us a lot of, like, mechanics. Like, it's gimmicks. I like to say in-game mechanic gimmicks. Like, Gen 5, we got the type gems, which gave you 50% boost to your stabs or coverage, whatever. Typing, you clicked and you were holding that gem, you got the 50% boost. Gen 6, you got the Megas. Gen 7, you got the Z moves. Gen 8, we got the Dynamax, but as Blin said prior to me talking right now, well, that's too broken in our draft format. And I would argue that is broken in VGC, but VGC, they don't care about that. They the entertainment. It's their official rulings and whatever they allow. And you know what? If it works for them and they have a successful community, by all means, continue to do what you gotta do. But as far as draft community, which is what we're talking about, Dynamax is absurdly broken to the point that we can't even limit the mechanic itself to make it fun to play our build against. So it's like you literally stripped the gen of the mechanic that was introduced. So now you're just playing a shell of the former generations. And you can't really say a shell of the former generations because if we were supposed to play, let's say, the actual like decks and what's in the game, Megas don't exist. Z-moves don't exist. We only have Dynamax. Take away Dynamax. All we have is Pokemon with no gimmicks. And Mons with no gimmicks are mechanics that are fun. Makes the game stale very fast. Not only that, the amount of Mons we got introduced in this generation are either extremely broken or underwhelming. So it's like you're not having as much fun. Like, and that, a lot of the things that were introduced is just like it just has no place, or it's just like more casual. So it's for the more try-hard, sweaty players, which is the draft league players for the most part. We grow bored because we can't allow the fun stuff to be allowed because, again, it's broken, it's unbalanced, and it's just like unenjoyable at that point. So it's like Blin pretty much touched on that VGC. Like VGC right now, it's at an all-time peak. It's at its best it's ever been since Gen 5. So it's like it's just a big thing for them right now. But unfortunately, because they're focused on their official format, they don't care about singles. They don't care about draft league. They really don't care because it has no concern to them because it's not what they specialize in. It's not the official format. So it's like we're in a tough place right now. It's just unfortunate because even the DLC, like the DLC can only do so much, and even then, it's just like it's underwhelming at best. So it's just unfortunate. But with that being said, we're gonna touch on the next topic. The next topic and the last topic, we're gonna be talking about different ways that we feel personally that can help spice up the current metagame and draft, which we probably already touched on or we are currently doing right now, but we all have different opinions. We all have different ways of perceiving something to be fun and enjoyable. So I'm going to pass the mic to Blin and see what he got to say about that. So.
Well, the main way that you make any meta exciting is you give the people something new while keeping it competitive. Like, it's all well and good. We've tried many forms and we've tried many sort of ideas on how to balance something. Take Dynamax, for example. You gave the players something new, but it wasn't competitive because it was so matchup dependent. It's like, whose Dynamax Mon can get 3 kills the fastest? And so, honestly, I think, like, spicing up the current meta, people have tried so many things. They've tried team tours, which that's a rant for another day.
Whew, that's another topic for another.
They've tried, like...
Go on.
Yeah. People have tried allowing little cut mons to Dynamax, and I remember I saw a game where Drillbur got 5 kills because it just max quaked everything. And they've tried so many things. People have tried low tier, which was fun at first, but it's not as competitive, and also it's been done how many times. So realistically, to spice up the current meta, we have to give the players something new. And I think, and this would be incredibly hard to do, but one thing I was thinking is you look back at one of the Smogons like other metagames that they have, and they have this thing called tier shift, where Smogon has your tiers like OU down to ZU. What you do is you play, and the lower the mons in the tier are, the more boost they get their base stats. So I think it's something like, if you pick up a PU tier mon, when you take it into the battle, it gets plus 40 in all, like plus 40 in all of its base stats except HP, I think. So it's kind of like a Mega Evolution. What I think would be an incredibly new meta is if we had something like that in Draft League, on a lesser scale, of course, but it would just be terribly hard to implement because you'd need a whole new client with a new set of rules to buff these base stats. You'd need to redo all of the tiers because a mon like, I don't know, something that's super top tier, say like Rillaboom, for example. Well, now you've got Thwacky, which is a Rillaboom that can hold an Eviolite, and it's suddenly getting a boost to its base stats. So it's like, does one come down and the other have to go up in the tiers? I think that would be a way to create a whole new meta, but it would take hours upon hours upon hours of work. And even if we started doing that today, we wouldn't get to see it until probably October at the earliest. And that's like getting it borderline, like getting close to a new game. But I still think that would be something really cool to see. Like that was a bit of a left field suggestion, just because I think everyone as a whole in the community is struck out on ideas of how to try and revive it, get people back playing, and just get a competitive vibe. But I think that could be something really cool because we'd also get to see, like, the appeal with low tier when it first came out was people got to see mons that didn't get love in standard shine. Like Pangoro became one of the best breakers in that tier, and you put that in a draft and it comes to less than half your games. So I think that would be a cool way to see something like that, but if it was done properly, it would still be competitive and you'd still have all your top tier mons available. What do you think on that, Silva?
Okay, so I actually forgot about that because that was an extremely fun metagame too, because it was like, I remember watching Pokemon MD, aka Joey, playing it, and it's like, let's say Ivysaur, for example, like, it's extremely better than Venusaur in every single way because of the buffs, like plus 40 to every stat. And to elaborate on what Blin said, it does get boost, your HP stat does get boosted. So a lot of these mons are extremely bulky, extremely strong, and can hold the Eviolite, which means they're better than their evolution counterpart in every single way. Like, let's say Servine, like that mon would be better than Serpent every single way because it's bulkier, it's stronger, and it's faster on top of that. So it's like Blin pretty much touched on earlier, we would have to, like, realistically lower that buff in some way, shape, and form. So it's like, it's fun too because it's like, it's pretty much like low tier, but a lot, I think it's more unbalanced in a sense, but in a way it's like you're allowing to spice up the metagame because you're using like mons that you pretty much would never use ever. So it's like, again, that's spicing up the draft league because a lot of the time when you're playing draft league, you're gonna only see the top tiers shine, the mid tiers do okay to support the top tier mons. Every once in a while you'll see a low tier do some work, but hardly ever to make a difference. So it's like, yeah, it's tough because the meta, like, we tried everything. Like, there's leagues that allows Dynamax, but the mons can't hold items, for example, and they have to Dynamax immediately. Like, it's not like you can save your Dynamax when you click an attack with the mon. You have to use it immediately. I've seen that. Then there's formats where you can have Megas, no Z moves. And then there's some that allows Megas plus Z moves. Then there's leagues that just ban everything altogether and it's like, we're just going to play as if this is the meta of the hard cartridge of the game. Pretty much like the current decks right now, which is like no Megas, no Z moves, and no Dynamax because it's draft league, nobody's going to allow Dynamax. So you're pretty much going to use the current Nat decks and just no added gimmicks. So it's like, there's a whole bunch of ways to play the game that we've tried, and all of them were decent enough. initially, but it all ran dry extremely fast. So it's like it's hard to keep people interested, and then a lot of the things that people try to do to spice it up, like Blin said, low tier, little cup, things like that, is stale because we were doing this from Gen 6, Gen 7, like we were doing little cups. I said little cups. We were doing little cup. We were doing low tiers, etc. We even started team tours Gen 7. And I'm not going to touch on that because that's a huge topic that we probably will talk about at some point on this series. But yeah, we tried it all. We've done it all. And it's like, I don't know how you can spice up this current metagame. Oh yeah, I forgot. Ubers is a thing too. Ubers is fun for some people. But again, there's a whole bunch of ways to play Ubers. Like there's some leagues that'll be like, oh, like you can only draft one Uber. And it's like, that's unfun because, like Blin said with the Dynamaxes, like to a lesser extent, the Dynamax is more broken than Ubers for the most part. But let's say Ubers is like a pseudo Dynamax. It's like, it's matchup dependent. Like, okay, whose Uber matches up better this week? And how do I win with it? Easier because of that. So it's like, that's hugely matchup dependent to the point that it's unfun for most casual players or even competitive players because a lot of competitive people are like, okay, this is broken, it's too matchup dependent, on to the next one. And then there's leagues that allows just all Ubers. And it's like, okay, at that point, just go on the ladder on Showdown, pick random Ubers, like Ubermons, a random six, click on the ladder, play it, and go nuts. And so it's like, at that point, it's not even draft league, it's just playing Ubers, but each week you're playing a different opponent, and you gotta build for them. So it's like, it's hard to really set in stone a certain metagame that everybody's gonna have fun and everyone's gonna be like, man, this is fun, this is something I gotta do, it's something that makes me want to play and sign up. It's just like, it's just so stale to the point that it's like, man, can the next gen hurry up already? It's just like, it's just tough because we tried it all, we've done it all, as I've mentioned many times. It's just like hard to like set something because it's like it's already been done. Like the Z, what's it called? Z, like or something? What was it called? Like you buff all the stats of a PU mon, NU mon, RU mon, like different.
It was called tier shift, the format.
Okay, so it's like you can do doubles. You can do at that point if you're doing doubles, just play VGC, but you draft instead. So it's like that can be fun. But I've seen that, and a lot of the time, doubles doesn't really translate well to draft league, considering that, like, the gap in between what's viable and what's not viable is so substantial compared to singles format to the point that if you don't have a good drafting spot, it's not fun because you don't have the same advantages. And doubles is a lot more complicated because there's so many more ways to play the game, so much different strategies that you can do and build and play, and that you have to consider. So for a draft league singles player to jump into the doubles format is overwhelming, and it's just to the point that it's not fun for most people. So it's like we can't do doubles, and then I've touched on Ubers, Blin touched on Little Cup and low tiers. He mentioned team tours, which is another topic that we won't get into because it's a whole nother topic that we can pretty much talk on a separate TBH. But yeah, like the best thing we can do is tier shift, probably Ubers, low tiers, Little Cup. We done what's it called? Yeah, gallery decks. Like in the beginning, gallery decks. No megas, no Z's. Then there's leagues that allow megas, no Z. Then there's some leagues that allow both Z and megas. So it's like no league is doing anything that we have not yet experienced. So it's nothing to. I'm trying to think of the right word to say. It's nothing to. What's it called?
It's not. It's just not refreshing.
Yeah, it's nothing out of the norm. It's nothing that you haven't seen or witnessed. Like at this point, everyone has participated in the league with either one of those rulings. So it's like, oh, It's like pretty much, oh, I've seen this. This is normal. Like every other league is doing it. So it's like, and then there's Wi-Fi too. We forgot to touch on the Wi-Fi scene, and that's another reason why a lot of the
What Wi-Fi?
yeah, like what scene? So it's like because the timer, like again, the official format is VGC, and for the timer to be 20 minutes max for a draft league game of single 6v6, it's like a lot of our games last half an hour minimum, even the faster games. So it's like you can't join the draft league community like, man, the graphics are amazing, the animations are great. I want to record. Let's do it. It's not easy to get into because now you got to set up your LAN. You have to make sure that the person you're trying to connect with is also on a different server, set up and ready to go. So it's like, and half the time it takes about an hour to get this stuff situated and set up before you even play the game. And then not only that, you're still on a chess timer, which means that you're not necessarily getting the full hour, but it can be an hour if you click your moves fast. And the whole point of Draft League is to build, formulate a game plan, go into the game, take your time to think, calc, run different like scenarios in your head to pretty much articulate what you want to do per turn. So it's like nobody's realistically clicking in seconds. We're probably taking about half of a minute to a minute. So it's like before you know it, you've used all of your time on your chess timer. So it's like it's just unfun to have to go through that just to not even get the full hour of like Gen 6 and Gen 7. So it's like the Wi-Fi scene is pretty much not a scene because it doesn't exist at all. So that's another thing that killed the Gen 8 community, and that's another reason why it's so stale, because Blin can speak for himself as well as myself. But Gen 6 and Gen 7 on the Wi-Fi, those were some good times. That was peak Draft League, in my honest opinion. Like, yes, prepping and trading your team to get Gen and all that kind of stuff is not fun. But at the end of the day, you get to enjoy yourself with the community. You get to enjoy a full hour of game time. Like, it's refreshing. It's different to not feel pressure to rush your plays, to not download these files and things like that aren't even supposed to be into the like system to even like enjoy the game at a certain level. So it's just like that's another reason why like a lot of these things are stale. Wi-Fi there's no scene for Wi-Fi in my opinion. Showdown's getting stale because every format that you can think of has been done for years. So it's like, yeah, like it's not looking too good for the meta as of yet. But you know what? We never know. Anything can pop up this year. We can get a new generation, or Nintendo can be like, you know what? Let's add something to the game that will spice it up. So it's like, yeah, I pretty much talked for a long time. So yeah, like I think that's all I gotta say. There is not much to say outside of that. We tried everything, and the things that could be tried, it's just like, it's like mediocre, and everybody's done it. So it's like, yeah, it is what it is. So hopefully, as time goes on, things will arise. It will be more entertainment. The spark will come back for a lot of older players that retired, including myself. And you know what? Only time will tell. Anything you got to touch on?
Yeah. No, I think that's it. It's just sort of, it'll just be interesting to see how things are in another year. Like 2020 was a bit crazy. I think a lot of people burnt themselves out in that year. So it'll just be interesting to see in another 6 or 12 months if people like yourself have taken a step back, played a bit casually, and then have that drive again to be like, you know what, let me play in a couple leagues and like go hard out and just, or if it just sort of the community just doesn't bounce back, which is a very real possibility.
All right.
But yeah.
Okay, so I think I pretty much touched on everything that we were supposed to talk about today. And if you made it this far, we thank you for watching. And I hope you guys enjoyed this not podcast. Oh my god. I hope you guys enjoyed this TBH. It was a real fun time to talk with my man Blin. Like, we both have similar opinions but very different opinions at the same time. So I hope it was interesting enough for the audience that are watching. So we will have another episode probably the week after next week, after I get situated in my new house. So it's like, yeah. Hope you guys have fun. This is your man, Silver Smash here, signing off. Peace. And we're done. We're done, baby.